started. So we're good there. Once I get them seated, just tap that, and then we're out to the right for sure.
Please rise. May be seated. We remember Mark. Adonai ma'adam v'te'ahu. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up, renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures." Would that we were wise and understood where we are going, for when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted. Behold the upright. They shall have peace. Death has taken your beloved Mark, we grieve with you in a darkened world. In our silence, there's lamentation. In our tears, there's loneliness. Lost in our sorrow, may we find the presence of loving family and friends. Hear us, O God. Be with us. For Mark's love that united you in life and which death cannot sever, for his companionship that you shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and mind that brought joy and happiness and is now his precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give God our thanks. We turn now to tradition's voice, which brings a message of faith and hope and light in this dark hour. You can also find a version of Psalm 23 in the service handout. Adonai roi lo echsar, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In his sorrow, Job cries out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there is strength in our faith. So with Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. He gave us Mark. And he will not be forgotten for all that was good and enduring in his life. So we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and your love. As we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. Amen. We take a moment for silent prayer and reflection. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Dear Audrey, dear Dana and John, Melissa and Aaron, dear Michael, family and friends. Mark was a good friend to me and to so many. Shortly after I moved to Charleston, Mark reached out to me at KKBE and took me out to lunch. He told me about the war that he was waging with cancer and how hard he was fighting. He told me about his life, his family, and his desire to engage more in the community. In between treatments and traveling, we'd meet again for lunch and catch up. He was always kind. He took me to wonderful places to eat around Charleston, and I treasured his friendship. Mark Stuart Mandel on December 31st, 1955 in Charlotte, North Carolina, the younger of two sons of Saul and Celia Mandel. And Mark grew up with his big brother Michael, who's here to honor his memory along with us. They grew up in Gastonia. Mark met Audrey when her aunt was a client of Mark's dad. They introduced the two of them, but Audrey told me that she knew it was meant to be before they even met. She had a dream about the charming man who would be walking off the elevator in front of her and headed in the same direction as her, and that dream came to life. Audrey, you said I knew it was kismet. They were married at Mishkan, Israel in Hampton, Connecticut, and together Mark and Audrey raised a family with their daughters Dana and Melissa. When I asked them how they would describe Mark, they used words like goofy, loving, caring, giving, charismatic, enthusiastic, and funny. And you told me he always had a positive attitude. Mark loved traveling, eating and singing, and being with friends and family. He enjoyed a good martini or a glass of wine. He especially loved Italy, and Mark loved shopping, especially while on those trips. And the more drinks, the more he shopped, especially in the art galleries, as his home testifies, as his walls are covered with art that he picked up on his travels, and many close to him have some of those pieces of art as well. Audrey, you told me he also loved the Viking cruise that you took down the Rhine River, a trip to Napa, and one of his favorite destinations was Sarsaparilla, Florida. Did I have that right? Sarsaparilla, Florida? Gasparilla, Florida. Okay. I'm glad I asked. Mark loved a good party, a good costume party, and Mark was the only man in a household filled with women, even the cats and dogs. He was an animal lover and was a dog granddad to Dana and Melissa's dogs. They remember when he helped them with Spanish when they were in school. He told me he also liked art, classic cars, and listening to jazz. You recalled Mark's El Giro, and you also recall a family trip to an Earth, Wind, and Fire concert. His back was hurting him before that concert, and it was hard for him to get around, but he was determined to go. Mark was a force. And he was a father not only to his girls, but to so many. Melissa, you said that all your friends consider Mark like a second dad. And he was so involved with your lives. Aaron, you told me how he was a true dad too, for you. You said he was always a great host, classic, always with class. Audrey, you said he was, quote, he was my best friend and my soulmate. Melissa, you said he was your twin, and you said you're the female version of him. Mark was always willing to lend a hand when he could. He gave his daughters advice about business, life, and boyfriends. Aaron, you told me Mark always called it like it is, and that the two of you were so close and you recalled a memorable trip to Disney. Audrey recalled road trips where Mark would pack the car to the brim and still manage to get the family in, and shop for more while they were on the trip, although sometimes they had to ship some extra stuff home. And Audrey told me that Mark's theme song should be "I Did It My Way," and he certainly did. Mark's way included family and friends, love and joy that he brought to everything he did. You recalled a special 50th surprise party you threw for him, where you had to trick him to get out of the house. And Mark and his family have been living here in South Carolina since 1993 and living in their beautiful home in Mount Pleasant since 2011. If you knew Mark, you were blessed to have him in your life. Some of those who were very close with him are going to share a few memories. I'm going to invite Rich and Michael to come share a few words.
When I came up here about 3 weeks ago to say goodbye to Mark, I wrote this on the plane here. When I was coming up, Mark and I were best friends for 30 years. For the last few weeks, I thought of what I was going to say while standing up here. We met each other, not at USF, but afterwards, since we both graduated from the University of South Florida at our function. Realizing we both dropped off our children at a synagogue in Tampa so the kids could take a bus to another part of Tampa that headed to the JCC. Mark, okay, sorry. Audrey, first of all, I want to say to you, thank you for putting up with Mark and I's childish behavior for the last 30 years. You know, they say laughter is the best medicine. Unfortunately, I guess we didn't laugh hard enough. I remember one family vacation in Jekyll Island. Since we had adjoining rooms, I'm not sure who decided this, us or the kids. It was probably the kids. They ended up in one room and we were in another room. And, you know, to see that room the kids were in, it looked like a tornado. It hit everything and clothes were all over the place. We took many family vacations together and our friendship just blossomed. Kids bought mitzvahs and weddings and many back and forth visits. Actually, Rabbi, you didn't mention Mark as a good cook. And we shared recipes together. And it's no secret that if a hurricane hits Mount Pleasant, you want to be in Audrey's and Mark's house because you walk into their pantry and it's like you have food you can feed the hungry there. Now, in 2019, they made a trip to Tampa, and we went to see Bohemian Rhapsody. And I remember watching as Freddie Mercury's dying of AIDS and thinking of Mark. And obviously Mark's thinking of his own passing. And it was Audrey and Mark and myself and my girlfriend at the time. And at the end of the movie, Audrey said, hey, you know, I have to use the bathroom. So she goes to use the bathroom. And then Mark and I are talking a little bit. He goes, you know, Mark, I was watching the movie. I was just thinking of, he goes, yeah, I know what you mean. But I was thinking of myself dying. I said, well, that's what I was thinking of. So we both hugged each other. We said, I love you. And we both, Mark and I start walking out of the theater, and my girlfriend at the time goes, hey, don't forget about Audrey. She's still in the bathroom. Mark turns around and says, that's okay, we were just having a gay moment. You know, Mark was a brother from another mother. We're both brothers from some other mothers. And I'll miss him. last trip, I just asked them to save a seat for me up there for me. While we're there, I was visiting. He looked at Audrey and says, "Are your bags packed? Because we're going to Tampa." Obviously, we said, yeah. Audrey said her bags were packed. She was ready to go. And it was a blessing to be his friend for these last 30 years. Thank you.
First, for all the family members, the Mandel family members who are out there, and there are, just so you know, a lot of family members who are live streaming this today, take a good look at the rabbi. I walked in and called him Uncle Harold, but you decide for yourself. The fact that there are so many of you here is a real testament to Mark's kindness and compassion and genuine caring about people. The fact that there are so many family members that are participating today electronically is a testament to Mark's commitment to his extended family. And there are folks I know of participating from California, New York, DC, Texas, and everywhere, Kentucky, everywhere in between. It's really gratifying. I mean, it really is gratifying. And the fact that Mark survived the length of time he survived is a real tribute to his family, because when people say he lived for his family, he literally lived for his family. Clearly the doctors didn't know who they were dealing with when they gave Mark the prognostication, because he well defied everyone's expectations, except probably his own. And it is a testament to Audrey and Melissa and Dana and Aaron and John. It truly is. We were blessed to come from a large family. Now, you all may have different ideas of what a large family entails. Let me just give you a little idea just by the numbers. 22 aunts and uncles, 23 first cousins, more than 40 first cousins once removed. Small family events were a dozen people. Typical family events were 25 people. It wasn't extraordinary to spend a holiday with family with 50 people. Sundays, since the family was almost all involved in retail and Sunday was the only day off, Sunday usually involved a trip to an aunt and uncle's house somewhere. Shelby, Hickory, Charlotte, High Point, on and on the list goes. Vacations were trips to Columbia, High Point, Charlotte, because that's what we knew and that's what we did. I mean, family was so ingrained in us that it was always an important part of our existence. And Mark brought that sense of family to his own family. The one thing I can certainly tell you is, I think the 5 happiest days of Mark's life were his wedding to Audrey, the birth of Melissa, the birth of Dana, the wedding of Melissa and Aaron, and the wedding of Dana and John. And in fact, I think Dana's wedding and his intense desire to be there really, again, helped to propel Mark far beyond what the doctors suspected, because Mark told me he was determined to walk Dana down the aisle. And but golly, he did it. He did it. A few months ago, when I was here, Mark said to me, "Will you speak at my funeral?" And I looked at him and I said, "Sure." And then with his sort of usual wit, he said, "Great, will you say something nice?" I'll let you be the judge of that. But one thing that I will tell you, the final thing, is this. The overriding theme that I've heard from all of you today, all of you, is Mark loved to party. He loved to plan a party. He loved to attend a party. He loved to be the life of the party. And I believe that really is the truth. That really does sum Mark up quite well. So what I will tell you is, and what I'm going to take away from this is, I am not going to mourn Mark's passing. I'm going to celebrate his life. And each and every time there's a happy event, that's what's going to make me think of Mark. And I hope that will help you as well.
Thank you. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Mark Stuart Mandel, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust, the light of our life, and our hope in eternity. I'm going to conclude here with a prayer, El Malei Rachamim, and then we'll allow immediate family to exit to the foyer so you can say goodbye to them on your way out. And then immediate family and some pallbearers will join me as we conclude at the cemetery. On behalf of Mark's family, we thank you so much for coming today to show your support both in person and virtually. For El Malei Rachamim, we ask you to please rise as you're able. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamramim Hamitzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar Harakia Mashirim, Et Nishmat Meir David Ben Shaul Celia Shal Halach LaOlamo, Bala Rachimim Yastirehu Beseter Kenafav LaOlamim, Bitzor Chaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hunachalato V'Yanuach B'Shalom, Amishkavo, V'Nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Mark, who enters eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and in the shadow of your wings, let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Once again, this concludes our service here in the chapel. Please stay where you